Hi, welcome back to the Kenny Veach and M Cave mystery. So we haven't done it for a while, but here we are, as there are some things to cover and take a look at, and also incorporating certain styles and methods with the maps, which I did in the Dylan Rounds case, which arguably I haven't done so in the Kenny Veach case. So that's what we'll be doing today. Also, I did receive coordinates from, I guess, a recent viewer. I think credit to Valerie, if I'm correct in saying their name, who provided coordinates. We're going to take a look at them, which is supposedly of another M cave. You know, is it the M cave, a new M cave? Where we will take a look, okay? I'll give you my thoughts, opinions, analyse if need be, right? So right now, welcome if you're in the live chat. I appreciate it. Shout out to Cuppy, a very long time viewer. She made her presence at the very end of last night's stream. So that was really good of her. So shout out to Cuppy. Okay. As for today, I don't think there'll be as much tension. Significantly less tension because of obviously the case I'm covering today. Hope we'll see who shows up in the chat. I don't know how many, but time will tell, I guess. And yeah, there's some other things to talk about as well. We can highlight Sean Horlacker, now known as on YouTube Sean Karner. Give my thoughts about that. And yeah, really the only other thing to do, it's kind of like a new method, right, when it comes to this case community. Procedure, a new one implemented. It worked within the Dylan Rounds case when it's needed, and that's the use of the whip, okay? Some people, seems like a foreign object, true, but others who may, have watched along in between, you will know, okay? So we'll just do a brief little demonstration, okay? Just drag it slowly across the camera. You feel the cold leather brushing against. Very smooth. Yes. It is smooth. Feel all the fibres. But this is the thing. When it makes contact with the skin, it can burn, it can tingle, and it might ring as well. So, it's a brief introduction. Are you ready? Yes. Any misbehaviour, and this is exactly what will happen. Okay. So we'll see how things go. And if it does ever get worse, if it does get any too out of control, just like it has done in recent time with the Dylan Rounds community, then the prototype will be used, okay? And only a very, very small selection of people have felt that wrath, okay? Stoney included, okay? But let's just put that aside for now, okay? Shout out to, can't remember his full name, I think it's Awesome Destroyer, long-time viewer as well, originated back from the Kenny Veach case community, the whole mystery, right? And recently he's been wanting coverage on the case. As said, with all the other stuff going on behind the scenes, background and drama, tension, and some breaking news here and there, keeping updates and flows going elsewhere, it's kind of been a bit difficult to do, but today, that's what we're focused on. Kenny Veach. Just take one thing into mind, okay? So, to the people that continuously watch, which is good of them, they will know. But to the other people, whether it be outsiders, new viewers, people from the past returning, just know that when it comes to covering other cases, like with the Dylan Rounds case, I have made nearly 200 videos in the last 5-6 months, I think. With the Kenny Veach case, I've uploaded 258 videos in the space of 2 years. So you see, the extreme ratio. But whilst I've been quite consistent with Dylan Rounds, in almost every single video, I have made reference to a story, an event, a person, Kenny himself, the cave itself, investigators, explorers, to do with the Kenny Veach M Cave mystery, whenever I've done the Dylan Rounds videos. So I haven't stopped talking about the Kenny Veach case or the M Cave mystery. I've always kept it in flow, in sync with a completely different case. So just know that, okay? The people that obviously watch regularly, they will know for sure. Such as, like, I guess Cleo, I guess Christy in a way, maybe Linda too, etc. Glitter Galaxy, right? So to begin with, let's just take a brief look at Sean Carner. I'm not going to show like images, videos, none of that material. You know, we keep heat level low. So rewind, maybe a week or two ago, Sean Carner did one of his streams. If you're not aware, he has returned back, or at least recently, from what I last heard of, returned back, covering the case in a way, doing his streams, talking about it, covering it, right, taking over, whilst, you know, other people aren't around at the time. Also participating in the interview with Casual Conversations with Gloria and Eileen, okay. So that's all good. He's popped back up doing his videos, and one of them, I guess he was reacting to some of my videos, including one of the odd funny ones, which was me reacting to Silverheels, and even Sean was confused with the whole disciple situation, Jeff Clark being a disciple of Sean Horlacher, and Jay Silverheels being the one saying all that. Kind of wild, kind of crazy, kind of funny too, right? And then also looking at some of the coverage to do with Rayleigh Robin, and that whole setting up Sean, right? Sean, I guess, acknowledged it and was positive this time round, which was refreshing to see. So that's good of him. And yeah, make sure to check his channel out if you want, and I'll provide it down below in the comment section pinned, right? So I think with that all out the way, we should probably get onto the maps now and take a look at this supposed M cave. Right, so here we are on the maps once again, but this time Nevada, the Mojave Desert, okay? So for some people it might take some time for the eyes to adjust, but end of the day, Dylan Rounds or not, Kenny Veach or not, they're both desert type terrain, okay? Both in areas where it can be quite hot, you can probably get cold traps too, right? So you can make links. So I think what we'll do, just type in the coordinates here and see where it takes us. So it's within, you know, range of the hike. Nothing too out there or too abstract, right? Seems to be on the other side of Jermay Canyon. So like if you was to go through Jermay Canyon, actually I probably can explain it to you in a second that. And we'll remove that black box in a second. A little panoramic dynamic view as we just hover about. Maybe first glance it doesn't seem to appear as much, but then as we just rotate round, we can kind of see a letter M form, right? And take in mind it's more of on a slant on the edge of the mountain hill, right? So we're not looking down at it as if we were looking down right on the ground. We're looking at a 3D model of the mountainside. So the rock walls, what we see on the sides, with it being 3D, it seems a bit more believable, you know, in terms of the depth of what we're looking into. We're not looking down at, but we're looking into. So hopefully that makes sense. Probably can flip the image, probably would be practical. You see what I mean? The 3D landscape. It looks like it's up, would you call it a canyon, up a spring, a wash? We zoom in here. Obviously, the closer you get to it, maybe it doesn't appear as much like it. But you zoom out a bit. I can see the shape of an M, how it goes up, down, down. Yeah. As said, as we go along in this video, in the live chat, feel free to share your thoughts and opinions. I don't know if we've ever done one before as far as the Kenny Veach case goes, but I guess there's no harm in attempting a poll at this moment. Do you believe this is an M cave? Yes, no. And if there's enough options, do you believe it's the M cave? Right? So that's what it looks like. We'll get more into that in a second, right? I'll give you my for and against arguments, right? Because, like, if you believe this does have characteristics like an M cave or the M cave, there might be other people that will say, yeah, but is it really practical? Is it, do you really think it is that? And I can explain my way of thinking, right? I'm also taking in mind that whilst doing this video, whether it be older time viewers, people coming in for the first time, there might be, it depends. There might be people with impetuous behaviour, egocentrism. I did experience that in the past at times when covering the case, sometimes misunderstood, sometimes people not really fully understanding the aim, the methods, the procedures, right? So I don't know if it will happen tonight, but if it does, I'm sure it can be resolved briefly. So if we just zoom back down here, right, just so you're familiar. We've got Joe May Road here, which then approaches Joe May Canyon. And then you turn left and go north. Just want to take note of here. We've got Black Gate Canyon here. I think Dead Man Canyon is further north, right? Why am I saying that? Because it was... I wonder if we should try and find it now. Wagon Canyon, Dead Man Canyon. Okay. There's Dead Man Canyon. Hidden Forest Ridge, Hayford Peak. If you wonder what I'm doing, I'm just... how could you word it? I'm recalibrating my mind, so I'm familiar. If I'm correct in saying Dead Man Canyon is also Hidden Forest Trail, and there should be a cabin up this way on the left. Wiregrass Springs, so the cabin's round here. Okay. Wiregrass Spring, and I don't know who it was presented by now, whether it be a rumour, BS or a fact, whether it was truly explored or not, whether it's from Gene Loskowski, who's a bit of a dodgy individual, or somebody else. It was around here, Wiregrass Spring. Person left a comment about it saying, you probably should check up there, maybe that's where Kenny is at. And it wasn't too far from the cabin as well, which is within the woodland. Okay, so we've got the Hidden Forest Trail here. What we have looked at in the past, I have done a video, I've done a map analysis of the routes and different alternative ways you can go. Feel free to check that out. Just wanted to point out here, Dead Man Canyon, also known as Hidden Forest Trail, is a place SB Vegas Adventures have visited in very recent time. I mean, he's posted some images. I don't know on YouTube, but I saw it elsewhere on other platforms. Posted the photos. Going up Dead Man Canyon, completing it successfully. And this was in the snow. This during winter time, right? Probably more hardcore, arguably. I mean, even when the weather is better and more practical, or it'd be really hot or somewhat okay temperatures, the hikers that have gone out there have said it's been brutal. It's been rough. It's demanding, right? At some points, it's like, oh man, I just want to get over and done with, right? Not just the timing, not just the mileage, but more so the environment itself, the rocks, the loose gravel, possible dangerous wildlife too, snakes, all of that. I remember Jeff Clark. Jeff Clark was saying how, he wouldn't go there during winter. It's too dangerous, And then you got SB Vegas Adventures popped in and managed to pull it off. So that's good of him to do that. Gives a different perspective of the place, how it looks visually. Okay. Last I heard from SB Vegas Adventures when I was present was probably the last video I did where we're looking at the mine shaft, right? Where it was covered up, and SB documented that. And we can refer to that in a second. But I just wanted to show you Dead Man Canyon has been visited in recent time by SB Vegas Adventures, okay? So if you used to see like footprints, or if you saw like maybe a rock moved slightly, rocks piled on top of each other or something like that, it could possibly be by, SB. So back down here, okay, we've got Joe May Canyon here. You follow it, you go all the way. Obviously to a fair few people, they'll know about this, right? But I'm just just for the people that don't know. On the left, you've got Joe May Guzzler, and it's probably just over there or on the top of that peak, that point, just over on the other side, that canyon, was the one Jeff Clark went up when he was trying to look for Robin's Rock, Robin's Canyon, really Robin, when he went back in the past. Jeff Clark couldn't seem to find it at the time, so that's still an ongoing mystery. Okay, if you're wondering what this rock is all about, it looked like there was slabs of rock piled on top of each other, and then it looked like there was like a dark hole in the middle. And then on the side of one of the rocks or slabs of rock, it looked like it was carved in with the letter M. So that was interesting. But, well, actually, just to correct something, it was carved as the letter M, but it was under the, I think, Latin language. So the Latin language of the letter M. Does that make sense? Right? So don't know who did it or why it's there, when it was done, or where it is. So it's still kind of weird, that. Okay. We keep going this way. Same way Kenny Veach would have gone himself, right? You got Wild Horse Pass. You go over that. Also, before we do, you got this here, which I believe is an agave or some kind of burning pit, if I'm correct in saying. And it's in parallel to the mine shaft, Kenny's mine shaft, which is here, where it looks brownish, this patch here. There's coordinates, in case you want them. Yep, there you go. And this is the area SB Vegas Adventures has covered, I guess, in recent time. Last bit of footage I've seen of, really, when I've returned back. And that's a mystery in itself, who covered it up and for what exact reason. Was it covered up to try and make it seem like, oh, there's nothing there, to try and prevent people from getting in because they're trying to hide something? There is something in there, whether it be to do with the skull, even though it's no longer there, whether it be to do with a secret tunnel, even though when people have tried going, they didn't really find anything. The only person that claimed that they did was really Robin, second account, which was a fake person, claiming they were going to go there, reveal it all, record it. Never happened. They even added a condition saying if they don't return back afterwards, then they've likely been kidnapped. And of course, they didn't respond, didn't upload, so they set themselves up, so they had an excuse to use afterwards. Then they reached out to me down the line, said, this is the father contacting you of Robin. Robin was pushed off a hill, off a cliff or something, got injured, in hospital, he'll respond later. And it's like, yeah, whatever. And then supposedly the real Robin, his friend, reached out to me elsewhere on a different platform, was talking about, hey, what's all this external drama going on YouTube? It needs to be cleared up, it needs to be resolved. And then I'm like, well, the hell am I supposed to do when the real Robin doesn't stand up? Where's the real Robin? Can you please stand up? Please stand up. I mean, where? And then the friend was like, yeah, well, he's focusing more on religion and cleansing himself. And I was like, well, can he maybe appear someday and answer some questions? Friend was like, yeah, sure, whatever. Never happened, so that's kind of a dead end. But yeah, as of other reasons, more to do with the mineshaft being covered here. Like, I'd say probably to prevent people from getting hurt, falling down. From my knowledge at least, it's never happened before. And it's been like this, open and exposed, for many, many years, leading all the way back to when Kenny went himself, and even before that, it existed, it was open, and there's many more mines and mine shafts out there, arguably more rickety, old and dangerous, ones Heavy D and his crew have been in, such as in Utah, even the mines Lance Kelly, Ty Corbin, when they've gone into different ones or approached one, they've been rough and exposed and open, and yet they weren't touched whatsoever. So why here and why now? That's the question. And of course, if there is updates, I will provide them. If there is anyone in the chat who has been here earlier, before SB, and knows, feel free to leave a comment down below. If you're the one responsible for covering it up, whether it be for safety reasons or something else, just feel free to say. It helps clear things up. We've previously resolved things in the past, like the supposed sabotage to the mine shaft, and it was like, well, who's responsible for that? Was it a dark reason? Was it a genuine one? And then the hikers, the guys, responded and said, yep, it was us back in 2018. We accidentally broke the ladder when we were descending in. And it's like, okay, thank you. Would have been better if it was resolved earlier. You know what I'm saying? So if the same can happen here, that'll be all good. I know SB did go inside. I didn't really watch the video because then all kinds of drama and stuff happened within the Dylan Rounds case. But I do remember seeing in the comments that SB didn't find the crystal skull, and remnants of the grain, rocks, or whatever it is, grey stuff around it was missing as well. Like it's been scooped away. Nothing found on the ground either. So that is a little bit odd. There's not really any animal remains or bones down there either, which is interesting, considering where it's at, in the middle of the desert, you got all the wildlife, yet really no bones found down there. So if animals aren't really falling down there or getting injured, then, and humans aren't, then why did it need to be boarded up, and why now? Did somebody else reach out to the DNWR, some do-gooder? Was it some person recent or a person from the past? Yeah. And why cover all that distance to go out of your way just to fill it in a way? I mean, in the eyes of Sean, I don't know what Sean Carner thinks of this. You know, whether he thinks it's a bit odd, suspicious or not. Yeah, interesting. But yeah, we put that aside. Going over Wild Horse Pass, right? And we'll try and look for photos afterwards. And it's once you get down here, right? Once you get down here. Bear in mind, if you're new, if you go right up this way, up like this trail, heading north, just here to the left, where you see it a bit patchy, that light coloured brown, just in front, like a rock formation. And right in the centre of it, try and put the marker there. There you go. There's the coordinates. That's exactly where the sword and tent was found. A bamboo concealed sword, which was kind of buried in the ground. Very odd to be left behind. The tent as well, all ripped and shredded. Now, could someone have knifed the tent? Possibly. I mean, just to throw in as a talking point, recently it was Sean that said in his last video or two that he had yoga mats outside of his house, and when he went back to them to inspect, they were all torn up, as if they were either knifed or scratched by a creature, clawed. Like, what's going on there? It's kind of odd, right? And the extent of it, it was literally torn to shreds, all the way down, completely ruined, destroyed, and a bit jagged as well. So, possible creature, but what creature and why? I mean, they didn't have cameras up, so they can't really check in that sense. But maybe for the future, time will tell. But yeah, I think with the sword and tent, could well be, as it was pressed up and lodged against the rocks, it could have blown in the wind and then catched onto the rock and just continued tearing that way. That's the way I see it, at least. As for the concealed sword, the bamboo one, I mean, you know, it could have been used as a hiking stick, right? A 2-in-1 purposed thing. Use the sword for like cutting rope, maybe a bit of wood. You know, it can be multifunctional. I can understand that. For it to be left behind, maybe the person just completely forgot about it, or they were in a hurry and had to rush off somewhere. Though, as an update, if someone like Sean isn't quite aware, or other people, the last time when Scott Natal returned back, which would have been over a year ago now, when he did go into this like rock formation, the tent was completely missing, nowhere to be found. That is spooky. As for the concealed sword, it's no longer there, but that is because on the first journey out there, when Scott Natal visited, Scott took the sword himself. Okay, so that's why it's no longer there. Just so you're aware. But as for the tent, where did it go? Like, if it was ripped, torn, and caught on the rocks, wouldn't you have to pull it away? Like, did someone salvage it? Clearing up, removing clues, secretly watching in the background, like with all the other locations? Possibly. It does make you think, right? It's weird. The only other thing I can think of is we've been so vast and open, and if it gets very windy at times, it could have caught underneath, could have dislodged in the wind, and then just blew off into the distance. Maybe someday a person may find it in a completely different area, but that could take some time. So yeah, that's just a little talk on that backstory. Also take in mind, just here, you see this? I think someone asked in a previous older video, but it was a recent question saying, what is this? Well, I used it as a thumbnail originally, and when you look at it that way, it looks like an M symbol, and obviously some people caught on in the early days and thought it was an M cave, but it's not a cave, not a cave at all, not a mine or a mine shaft. It's some kind of like agave burning pit, or some kind of like sagebrush gathering in that area, one or the other, right? Hopefully that makes sense to you. Okay. Just flip the image. Now, coming down this way, you eventually reach Picture Canyon, which is like in this area here, okay? The name doesn't seem to show up immediately. It's when you exit. You would have seen it earlier. And then to the left is that supposed new M cave. Call it new M cave because I don't think it's been covered before, right? And somewhere down here, right, on this side, let's just roughly say like round here, on the side of the rock wall, you have, when you first coming down this way, right? So you got north, east, south. So when you're heading down west, approaching Picture Canyon, on the right-hand side, okay? First of all, you've got an actual M-shaped cave. It's shallow, it's not that big, it's not deep, right? But it's definitely in the shape of a cut capital M, okay? And then next to it, on the left, you do have like another shallow cave, which is the keyhole cave, where you got that hole in the wall. Very spooky. The supposed reptilian eye, which some people believe it is, others don't, right? Okay, that's up for discussion still to this day. And then next to that on the left, you've got the M-shaped, supposed covered up cave, where it looks like a jigsaw puzzle, the way that all the rocks are formed and arranged, okay? And I have covered videos in the past of this location, so if you want to see what it looks like visually, feel free to check my previous videos out. There'll be a playlist provided down below or so, okay? It's under control. If you want deeper footage, actual deeper boots on ground footage, feel free to check out Sean Carner. That's his name on YouTube, okay? And yeah, I believe it's in this area too, where like a beer can is in one of the shallow caves, or very nearby to it on the side of the rock wall, a beer can. And Sean Carner pointed that out in one of his recent live streams, and I can answer that for him, okay? So whether Sean is here right now, welcome, or if it be a follower or a person that can pass on the message, okay? Pass this on to Sean Carner. The beer can in discussion that was around this area, approaching Picture Canyon near the supposed M caves, it was dumped, or at least put there, by J Silverheels, okay? that other explorer investigator who went out there in the past. Why? It was like as an offering. It would be a tribute, some kind of memorial. You know what I'm saying? He put a can out there, a beer can, because Kenny, I guess, drunk beer. Well, he drank it from the bottle, but a can is a way of honouring Kenny Veach. And that was by Jay Silverheels. In the past, Jay Silverheels did admit and leave comments here and there, and I do remember them still. So hopefully that clears that up for the people who were confused. Also, what I want to do just very quickly is rewind back to the mine shaft, because what I forgot to say, here, right next to the mine shaft, you've got loose change, you've got coins, okay, still there to this day. And if anyone heard about the story of Kenny and the search and rescue, the cadaver dogs going that way, reaching the end point of Kenny's scent, which was right near the mine shaft, the phone being found of Kenny's hair dumped, as well as loose change. If you went there now and found the loose change, you'd be like, oh my God, this is Kenny's. Oh my God, I found evidence. No, you are mistaken. The coins that are there are from Jay Silverheels as well. Same time as the beer can, okay? It's when Silverheels, Jay, went out one time, I think 2021, back then, and just did the whole hike in one go. He documented it, recorded it, and, you know, another tribute to, I guess, Kenny here because of the change. So just wanted to clear that up for you. I know SB Vegas Adventures was a little bit confused, so hopefully he's watching this too. Just zoom back down here. So yeah, this is the area in question, right? It's a key hotspot, all kinds of interesting points, maybe just the rock geology, the debates and discussions for and against, right? Another, obviously a place where Kenny has walked through too, okay? Somewhere on the left-hand side, can't remember exactly where, whether it be here. No, it can't be there, because what I'm thinking is, what we've got to acknowledge is almost adjacent to the caves down here, adjacent to the supposed covered up one, you have, it could well be that one there. It was one of them where it wasn't so much the shape of this dark looking shallow cave, it was more so what was captured within, which looked like eyes, as if a creature was hiding in there, spying on Kenny when Kenny went down there and was recording it. He didn't seem to notice it, but he seemed a little bit nervous or shaky around the area, so there must have been some kind of influence or effect on him negatively. But, you know, on closer inspection and analysis, we came to that conclusion that there wasn't anything inside of it, and it was probably like sheet or something from wildlife, or maybe like markings, maybe veins in the rock, you know, more natural or less suspicious speaking, okay? Though, a little bit further on somewhere, and, you know, Jeff Clark can obviously clear it up, whether it be maybe here, okay, just let you make note of that if need be, or if it be further down, somewhere on the left-hand side, there was another M-shaped cave which was higher up, but you could still reach it because Jeff Clark managed, and it was in such a position that you can only see it when the sunlight or the shadows are in a certain position, right? Because other times, when the weather's not correct, you won't see it. You won't see the shape. It won't stand out. And that's what makes it very interesting. And Jeff Clark was the first and only guy to document it. And there are photos. I do have a video of it in the past. If you want to check it out, you'll find it, okay? No one else has really pointed it out when they've been out there, and a fair few people have gone out after Jeff and they didn't make note of it. So clearly it must be, you know, hidden or somewhat concealed. Not 100%, but like visually speaking, if you were to look out for it, almost camouflaged in a sense. And that's really where the argument comes across. People can say, well, we've been here, we searched, case closed, no M cave, or the ones what we think we found are nothing and are natural. And it's like saying, yeah, but whilst you've been out here, what about that one M-shaped cave? Although it might not be the M cave, it's one of them, and you just so happen to fail in spotting it when you were there. So then you can start questioning yourself, even doubting yourself and thinking, well, if we didn't see that, then what else have we missed? What other important markers do we need to look out for? So that's the thing, it can get kind of deep, right? And maybe, as we see with that new M cave in a second, it's to do with the shadowing, right, which really does define it. And whilst people can say, yeah, boots on ground, that's the only way to go, it's the only method out there, it's like, okay, yeah, I kind of understand. People have used it within the Dylan Rouse case. Some people have whined, saying, yeah, but, is it going to help using the maps? Well, technically it can, more so with the Kenny Veach case here, because whilst in real life you can observe the area, you can almost do the same when on Google Earth, because, these rocks, the structures, it's 3D. Okay, it's not one-to-one scale, but you're seeing it for how it is, for the most part of it. Another thing to make note of is somewhere down here, down Picture Canyon, there was that weird audio caught on camera. So when Kenny walked down here, there was like whispering, almost paranormal, saying, stop now, or where are you going? And then it said, follow the red tape. It was very weird, very weird. And I did cover it in a previous video, paranormal something, so you will find it, it does stand out. And I did increase the volume, I did replay it back. It's very weird, right? It is spooky, okay? And speaking of weird sounds, take in mind, it was documented in Kenny's actual hike. There was a previous weird sound captured on the same hike by Kenny, right? Just zoom out for a second. Make sure we're facing north so we don't get confused. Back to the mine shaft once again. And I'm not talking about the mine shaft, what Sean captured, because that was background sound from inside of the house because he was re-recording with a camera from the TV. So rule that one out. But in Kenny's footage, when he had the tripod set up like here, okay, and Kenny was stood somewhere like there, and he was facing the camera. At some point, he went up to it, he picked the camera up, he looked around, and we'll just point it out ourselves here. Flip the camera a little bit, there we go. He looked about, was pointing out, saying you got Sheep Peak over there in the distance, Gas Peak. And as he was panning, he said, yeah, and there was that one time in the past where my girlfriend had to pick me up along the highway, and shortly afterwards you heard a like a female laughter. And I did replay it back several times, and it was very spooky. And it was that discussion of, was Kenny Veach truly alone, or was someone following him, or did he just have his girlfriend with him at the time, or some other female? And it's like, well, does it really matter? Yeah, because why would you hide the person? Why would you pretend that you're solo hiking out there? It doesn't quite make sense. I mean, you've had other hikers, different videos, vlogs elsewhere, different countries, places. They might be with the girlfriend, they might be with a friend, family member, and they'll be like, yeah, we're going here, we're going there. You hear that language, we are. Today I'm here with da-da-da, but they might not show the person on camera because of privacy reasons, but they at least acknowledge that they're with someone. So if Kenny's lying, what else is he lying about? That sort of thing. So that's what the discussion was. Was it ever fully resolved? Not really. Still a mystery in its sense. So as you see, whilst we've just gone along this hike route, especially to people who aren't completely aware, a lot of stuff has gone on in, you can't say a small area, right? Because when you're actually there, it's quite big. But if you put in comparison to Lucin and Bald Eagle Mountain of Utah and approaching Montello, Nevada, it's a significantly smaller area, right? I would say, if you're basing it off the route. Okay. A lot's gone on here with time as well, and for most part of it, it's been documented, which is really good. That is helpful. Whether it be truly mysterious or simply debunked down the line, at least it was documented. That always helps. And also, speaking of which has been documented indirectly by Aqua Chigga, who actually went there himself. His coverage of the case was okay, but he failed to include any new information or new breakthroughs, whether it be used talking about, I guess, Sean Carner in depth, or even my stuff as well, and my coverage and my research and some other people's research. It's weird. YouTubers, whether it be, well, it could be from anywhere around the world. It could be from India, it could be from the USA, it could be from the UK, England. People, humans, fail whenever they make a video about Kenny Veach, M-Cave mystery. Nearly every human that does that fails to include the latest coverage or any coverage, any material at all of other YouTubers and what they've done, such as me, such as Jeff Clark, such as Jay Chuck, Jay Silverheels, Sean Carner, someone else, even Susan Veach. It's like, there's no attempt, there's no care. It's just regurgitate the same story over and over again. It's ridiculous. I mean, in the Dylan Rounds case, you've got people left, right and centre quoting each other, which can be problematic, chaotic at times, but at least that there is reference points, right? Who said this, who said that, who's to blame for misinformation, who's to blame for a breakthrough. So much more helpful. Though, I guess maybe it's because it's a collective group of people that embedded themselves into the case. And even if they take a break, when they return back, they do highlight points. Okay? So there's more effort there than there is in the Kenny Veach case as for coverage. Okay? There. What I wanted to refer back to, the main actual part was in this area here, which Aqua Chigga documented. You compare his footage to Sean Carner's footage from, I think, 2019, I believe. So you compare 2021 imagery to 2019, and there is a missing big, heavy, black boulder rock. Okay? I think in a later video, or by the same person or someone else, it was found on the ground a bit further away. But the key point to make is it's been moved, right? A heavy rock, even Jeff Clark confirmed it. It's heavy. It doesn't move that easy. You try picking that up, not going to work. Maybe a crowbar was used to pry it away. Multiple people or a very strong person grabbed it, levered it, pushed it to the ground to what? Try and look inside of the supposed cave, try and investigate themselves. They didn't make efforts of putting the rock back, they just left it, right? So it's like, well, who was responsible for that? Because no one has owned up, right? And with certain stuff, you can say, well, people aren't going to because they could get in trouble, right? But then again, you think about it, that group of guys that broke the ladder at the mine shaft, they owned up. They even showed footage of using a drone in the area on YouTube, which is supposedly illegal, so they took it down. Then they found out that it was legal and okay, so they re-uploaded it. What's that all about? They managed. So who moved the rock at the supposed covered M cave approaching Pitcher Canyon, huh? Who did that? Does anyone know? If you want to admit or just show acknowledgement, maybe do so in the chat or provide a video. I mean, it does help. It clears up, ties up loose ends, okay? Was there anything else down here? I mean, because it's on a slope and it goes down, I guess if you've got heavy rainfall, it could fill up, kind of like a wash, right? I mean, is it literally a wash? I've heard it being described as a wash. Technically, I should know by now with the bloody Dylan Rounds stuff with those washes. But then again, those washes, what I've seen, do look very different to the washes here, visually speaking. Okay? But yeah, you come down here, down Picture Canyon, right? Also, it looks very rough and rugged, but it is doable. People have done it, right? Takes some time. And then you finally get out. And if we rotate round, look, there's the name of the canyon. Look back the way we came, as you can see, all the way up there, right? Yeah, you got some like loose rocks there. Can't remember exactly where it was. It might be within this area. There was higher up on the rocks. There was like maybe a plane crash site. I think Jay Silverheels covered it in a video previously. Not too much of linkage with Kenny, but just not one of those things caught on camera. Obviously, one of the most coincidental parts within the case, right, which maybe not enough people acknowledge, on both occasions, right, and this is separated from 2014, a hike out, 2016, a hike out, or 2019, whichever one it was, 2014 and then maybe 2019. Both when Kenny and Sean exited Picture Canyon and they were looking at the scenery, I think they turned to the right in almost in the same exact position. I believe it was somewhere up here. I think it was somewhere up here. Right on the edge, you had like a bighorn sheep, something like that with the horns, kind of spooky. You could say a bit demonic, but not literal. And that happened for both Kenny Veach and Sean, 2 separate occasions in a space of a fair few years between the two, a gap, in the same position, in the same spot, the same type of animal, watching, overlooking the hiker as they exit out of Picture Canyon and return back to where they parked. Like, that is just weird. That's a weird coincidence. And you want to tie it in with weird coincidences. What about multiple hikers experiencing the same thing, arguably at the same time, or like part of the day at least, speaking, nighttime when it's dark, and like the same sound? You know what I'm talking about? We're talking about 2019, we're talking about 2021, and maybe 2022, depending when SB Vegas Adventures went out there, right? Separate years, similar experiences, right? 2019, you had Sean Carner. He was making his way back, which I'm not exact. Oh God, what the fuck is going on there, you stupid twat? In one area, at least, when Sean was making his way back, okay, back to his car, he heard like footprint. He heard like sounds of, footsteps, okay, and it would stop when he stops walking, but you'd hear a few extra steps after him. So you knew there was something present, something stalking him in the dark. Sean wasn't able to see what it was, even though he was hovering the light about. And it just kept going on and on up to a certain point. Never knew what it was. Was it a creature? Was it an urban legend? Something very dark and negative, reptilian? Who knows? It's open for debate. Fast forward to 2021, when you had Scott Natal, who was up one of the mountain areas, can't remember where exactly, making his way back in the dark, and even he said he could hear footsteps, weird sounds. He also experienced it daytime as well, on the odd occasion when he was at some abandoned mining camp and felt like a weird presence, something weird, uncomfortable. And then you fast forward to 2022, I believe. Don't know if it was exactly nighttime or daytime. I think it might have been night. Must be. And you heard SB say he experienced footsteps as well, like something was following him by the sidewalk, and it's like, well, what is it? Who is it? Why they're doing it? You know, what do they want? What they're going to do? And obviously it was never revealed, but they all had similar experiences on different occasions throughout the years. So just like with the little bighorn sheep in the exact position as Kenny and Sean experienced and documented, that it's just very weird, the timing of it. If it was a one-off, you could say maybe it wasn't anything, but when it happens more and more with time, and there's a consensus as well, you start taking it a bit more seriously, right? I mean, if you want to know my position, or where I stand at least, as with the keyhole, the creature looking through supposedly, I'd say it's more to do with a visual illusion with the camera, the quality of the focus, the lift mechanism of moving up and down with the phone, as well as the obstruction, the depth of field, and the object that gets in the way in between of the hole, which forms like a blockage, right? But I'm not dismissing completely about the footsteps in the dark experienced by Sean. There could well be something out there, right? So I'm not dismissing it 100% as a whole, but I am demonstrating balance with common sense, psychological reasoning, thoughts, etc. Some people will know what I mean, okay? So with all that in mind, you know, I couldn't help but just explain it all, because all the events that have built up with time, there is so much that has gone on, right? There's no harm in just as like a refresher. No harm whatsoever. So with having Picture Canyon here, and tying in line with this supposed M cave here, very nearby, right? It could fall in line with Kenny Veach, like Kenny Veach following the way he went, passing by those like caves, as he said, going down Picture Canyon, then turning, and then heading north, going south back to his vehicle. With it being kind of in close proximity, you could get mixed up with certain locations. You could say, well, actually, oh yeah, what I seen on screen here was actually what I thought I saw near Picture Canyon, or just before that, Jeremy Canyon. And that's where the confusion comes in, right? You can't really get confused between a desert and a woodland area, two completely different areas, right? And far apart from one another, let's say, aside from just standing out visually. But if you're in a desert area and it's like a couple of miles away, but it all looks the same, you could get a bit confused, especially if dehydration starts kicking in and other things too, your mood, your level at the time, right? Yeah, what are your thoughts on this here? Okay. In terms of actually getting to it, that's another important point. Looks a bit of a struggle at first. It looks like you're looking up at it, so maybe you've got to climb up it, even if that's if it's possible, because looks can be deceiving. I mean, you compare it to the route down here, right? Some areas looks difficult. There's quite a bit of depth. It doesn't look so much here, but it is when you are there. You got to like climb up and down, slip through gaps and cracks. It's a bit difficult for some people, right? So if that's quite awkward up there and it doesn't look that awkward, then you look at something like this, which does look awkward, then it must be even more if you're there in person. But like, put aside what it is supposedly, you know, whether you want to debunk it immediately or not, just forget about that for a second. In the eyes of Jeff Claw, if he has witnessed it himself, that canyon looking up that way, right? What we're looking at now. Is that a canyon you can walk up, a wash, a spring? Can you get up there? Or is it just not possible? Is it really steep, inaccessible, dangerous? Leave your thoughts down below if you have passed by this area and looked up that way. Okay? Hopefully you see this, Jeff Claw. Because that'd be a key point to determine, first of all, whether you can actually get there or not. Because if you can't get there, it's not that possible, or it's completely impossible, then it seems unlikely that Kenny would have approached it. You know what I'm saying? But if you can get to it, you never know. It's possible. Is there anything else we need to look at in between the area. We've got some like white little dots, which could just well be, I don't know if it's a bighorn sheep that, or just a white rock. Make sure I don't miss anything. Desert National Wildlife Refuge over there. Cold Creek over that way. Decent image quality, to be fair. And then this area here, I mean, when you look down at it, it looks like there's a pathway when you see that light coloured trail. And it does look similar to other areas, but it depends the steepness, the gradient. Doesn't look too rocky either, but it depends if that's a wash or some kind of canyon, you know what I'm saying? It's when it drops down here, that looks a bit awkward. Some like white object there, whatever that is. Yeah. Maybe, sorry about that, it's just the map's spazzing out. Maybe if possible in the future, we can adjust the timing of it when the shadows are not on that area. See what it looks like, right? So I have to try and get hold of it. But yeah, interesting. Now, in terms of the for and against, right? So first of all, the for arguments to begin with, well, it looks to be in the shape of an M, or the shadows cast an M shape, right? So there must be some kind of depth going on, possibly, with it being kind of in the area of the height group. You could argue it for too. With it being on the side of a mountain, you can argue that as well. I mean, what about the against points? Well, it's not quite where Kenny Veach worded as, oh, it looks like something like here. That doesn't match. In terms of the size, where he said it's almost like the same height as me, that does appear significantly bigger. You know, first of all, when you're looking at it on the maps, so if you're actually there at the time, it could be even more, right? So you got to take that into mind, the actual scale and size of it. He said it's deep, it's dark. Well, it looks deep and dark, but I think he was saying that a certain width, it's not very wide, it's kind of narrow. Does that look narrow? Kind of, but you got to take in mind the scale, which could mean it's not. I guess if there is any photos or footage of someone taking a photo in that direction and you could zoom on in, that could be quite helpful. And if not that, we can, you know, just further look at it down the line, okay? Is there anything up here which is worth looking at? Not really. It seems very rocky up here and impractical. Would you be able to access it from a different way? Well, you got Wild Horse Pass here, okay. Just before that, if we're looking over that way, somewhere down here is that like canyon. Is it this one here? It zooms out, unfortunately, when the rocks get in the way. Yeah, it was, wasn't it? Wild Horse passes here. And just over the ridge coming down here, that's where you got the supposed cave. Interesting. So it's kind of doable. Like if you can't get up it, you probably could get down to it, or at least get close to it to look down at. Has anyone tried that? Anyone? Interesting. So at least there's like possible alternatives, right? Okay. So leave your thoughts down below. It'd be interesting to see. You know, we're not done there, not quite yet, because what I want to do now is incorporate the photos. I can explain more to you right now. So when it comes to imagery photography regarding Google Earth, whether it be uploaded by people from the area who work in the area, tourist. People can upload photos onto Google Earth and also Google Maps. You might not see it at first glance, but the tiny little circular blue dots that do pop up every now and then in certain areas are of, public photos which someone has taken and then uploaded, right? It's different to Street View for most part of it. Street View tends to be directly by Google themselves, but you can have custom general public photos as well. And that's what we can be on the lookout for today. As well, sometimes when you look at key points and key markers, whether it be a peak, which it tends to be, of a mountain, user photos appear there. You look at the landmark, you look at the green text. If you tap on it, sometimes it does provide photos. Other times it's just a blank screen, okay? I really picked up on that, focused in when it came to the Dylan Brown's case, because with the Dylan Brown's case, at certain points there wasn't enough footage or clarity of where is what. I want to see it with my own eyes at my own pace. You get what I'm saying? You could with the Kenny Veach case, because the footage was long and deep, you could really sink your eyes in and get an understanding of where you are at, whether it be from Sean's videos or Scott Natal's, because they were raw and uncut, which was better, more atmospheric as well. So with the Dylan Brown's case, I was able to find key markers to overlook and observe the area from afar and see if anything stuck out, anything of interest, and also certain peaks, right, where maybe activity has gone on, events linked with the Dylan Brown's case before or just after, right? So that's why we can apply it to the Kenny Veach case now. And as for Street View, as we know, Street View, the Las Vegas, the outer skirts, the desert area, there's hardly any Street View. It just tends to be on the highways, which makes sense. And the furthest is going all the way up to the DNWR, Desert Wildlife National Refuge Centre. And then it ends. You can't go any further than that. So it's very restrictive. So if we can find some custom photos of the area, then we might be able to look further in, right? To the people that are confused and are like, how's that going to help? I can explain, right? It might not be so much to do with Kenny himself. You never know, he might have uploaded his own photos, right? Because when you're going through these selection slideshows of photos, it actually provides the account and username and profile picture of the person down below, bottom left-hand side of the screen. So, you never know who might show up. It could be, I don't think Jeff Clark would, but, it could reveal who has been in the area or at least nearby. Does that make sense? Because whilst there's been people that have documented their journey, their travels out there, other people have not. So it's been a mystery, a guessing game. Is it a dangerous, dodgy person, or is it just a genuine person hiking? Yeah, you say it's a national park and stuff, and it can tie to a missing 411 case with Paulides, but it's not a high traffic area. Jermay Canyon, okay? Dead Man Canyon, Hidden Forest Trail might receive more tourists, but it's more of a popular place, first of all, more of a historical place. You've got these things you can visit, and the trail is a bit more forgiving, right? Car parking spot too. So yeah, you got to take that in mind. So what I'm thinking of is, as we go through these potential photos, we see if there's any names we've heard of before that may have uploaded photos from the past of their journeys out there. See if Kenny Veach shows up somehow, somewhere. You never know, because the pictures can date back to way back then. Believe that, like 2007, 2006, and onwards. And that does fill in the timeline. So that's what we'll look out for. And also take in mind, Jeff Clark has done it himself. Right, when it's come to referencing maybe Sheep Peak or Gas Peak or approaching that way, he's told me, I don't know who it was by, was it Turtle Boy or Turtle something? I can't remember the username of past hikers 2013 and before that. And I think there might have been 2 girls as well that went hiking in the area or kind of nearby, maybe 2014 or later, 2015. I'm not 100% sure, but there's been channels out there that have documented it and uploaded it to YouTube, but it was nothing to do with Kenny Veach because they didn't know anything about Kenny Veach at the time. And as for the 2013 hike out there from the other account by a guy or two, that was before Kenny even went missing. So obviously they're not looking for the cave, they're just hiking out there. But it provides a perspective of the area of how it looked back then. And it might reveal certain locations which have not been covered before by other hikers. So I can understand why Jeff Clark did that. I want to do that today and try and go a bit deeper if possible with all the different imagery if available. Okay, we just see how it goes, see if anything else interesting pops up, because it has done within the Dylan Brown's case some weird things, showing things being found, left behind, the lot. Okay. The only other point to make note of, when it came to that turtle guy or that YouTube channel, the one Jeff Clark sent me the link way back in the past, the guy passed away, but I can't remember how. I don't think it was to do with hiking out there and then dying. It might have been natural causes and when he was back at home, but the channel became inactive and hasn't been touched since. So you could say a little bit spooky, right? People that end up going missing or passing away, you know, is there some kind of link? You know, if you look deep enough, maybe you could find an argument to prove that, possibly. What else is there? As for missing people in the desert, you had the shack lady, to the more Dylan Brown's case, talking about, I think, was it the Arizona desert? I think Arizona desert, a body found there. Obviously Dylan Rounds missing in the Lucin desert area, or maybe the Montello desert area of Nevada. Kenny Veach missing, supposedly, let's just word it, in the Mojave Desert, Nevada, right? Anyone else? Well, Sean was kind of like saying there's not really anyone else out there missing in the area, but if you're basing it off rumours or what people have said in the past, maybe Eric the hiker that reached out to Susan. No, not reached out to Susan, sorry, not that. Eric the hiker on Twitter that reached out to Sharon Pilgrim, the ex-girlfriend of Kenny Veach, said, I'm going to go out there, yeah. A couple of days later, Sharon's like, where are you? Where are you? What's happening? And this was 2016, I believe. People did get mixed up with Eric the hiker with Eric Fernandez, but one, different area, and two, that was 2014. I'm talking about 2016, the Eric the hiker. He went very quiet after that. So supposedly, you could argue he's missing out there, supposedly. Some people said that he had activity on his YouTube channel afterwards to do with gaming and stuff, but then the channel got shut down or disappeared. So that's yet something else that's weird, right? And then supposedly another missing person where a family hired a private search and rescue. Wasn't Dead Man Canyon, it was the other canyon, what I showed earlier on in this video when you begin at Jomay Canyon, but it's to the right, up that way, where a animal femur bone was found, which was later confirmed as animal, but argued to be human earlier on. And then there was like one of the members on the team called, what's he called, Kenny, or Ken something. He had a certain name. But I did cover it in a previous video, so if you want to look back, you'll be able to pick up on it. So yeah, all kinds of different things to take a look at, right? And obviously deep as well, but the playlist is there to guide you. The titles of the videos are somewhat easy to follow along. As for the Dylan Rounds case, because that's ongoing and overlapping, you could say the titles are a bit harder to pick up on there, right? I tried my best. Other channels, obviously, where it's like 10 hours long, 5, 6, 4 hours long, they might call it discussion, drama, latest updates, but there's so much within it to try and pick out from. Okay. So with that aside, and hopefully no one's misbehaving. If anyone's misbehaving, just one more. Okay. Just experimenting, don't worry, don't be confused. Let's head back to the map and see what photos we can find by the people. Right, so we just tap that. Wow, 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 wow. Look at all those markers, especially all up there. That's crazy. That's one big route, right? those little dots are the 360-degree ones, okay, by general public. I think I'm correct in saying the most interesting thing about that one, where all those dots are, it does tie on from a previous event, right? Let me just stop it. Gas Peak Road camping area. Fair enough. So it'll probably be a camper out there. I think it might have been up this way. It was up one of the roads. It has to be. Where I think they said the scent went up this way up to a certain point and then ended. And it's like, well, but that's going away, right? That's kind of like northeast of Jeremy Canyon. But, you know, that's what we said in the past. We tried to come up with ideas. Maybe Kenny walked up that way up to a certain point, stopped, turned back, or was waiting to be picked up, maybe. Because it is a road, and it does eventually go on to Coyote Springs, which I believe is a highway there, or some kind of dirt road, right? So there are ways of cutting across. As for these pure blue lines, obviously that's Street View, okay? You got the Desert National Wildlife Refuge Centre, right? Okay. Oh, concrete. We've got some like little dots there which we can take a look at as well. How do we take off the Street View? There we go. You see that? When you click on the green text, then it comes up with photos of, such as the place, right? Okay. We did go through this last time, okay? Maybe not exactly that one. Like it's like a museum, right? But the important part is it provides ground footage of areas nearby, out and about, okay? You might be familiar with some of the photos and others you may not be, but I just wanted to share it with you. Coyotes, bighorns, coyote, about the mountain lions though, they exist too. And that's the ornament. Yeah, okay. Uploaded by general public people, as you can see, okay? So that's the other example of photos that can pop up, right? If there's like several circles, spheres to look at, we'll do so many today, okay? And then if there's any leftovers, we can another time. So, you got the centres back there, the parking back there. As for Street View, the furthest you can get up to is like around this area, but you can't go any further. Back down that way, you got the logbook. As for Sean Carner, as a recommendation, feel free to check out my Jay Silverheels Chronicles, because there was one moment where Jay Silverheels wanted to burn down the logbook to the ground. Crazy. I don't know who this guy is. Maybe the one taking the photo. I don't know if he's using a drone. He's got the profile picture of Doctor Who, the TARDIS. He's blurred himself out, whoever that is. I don't know if it's anyone. Like, it'd be weird if someone who was involved in the case or watching right now appeared on one of the images and then said, oh, that's me. Oh, what do we have here? Looks like a camera screwed onto the back. Interesting. Weird. Right on the back of that truck. You see how the tarmac road ends right here. Then it goes onto the dirt road. That's where that sign is. Alamo Road left. Mormon Well Road, I think that says. It says Joe May Road as well. So you go down Alamo Road, turning left, and eventually you come across Joe May Road first. I think that's like 3 miles or so. Once you get to it, you got to turn right, and then eventually you end up down that way into Joe May Canyon. Cow Camp Road, that's one Jay Silverheels mentioned in the past. I think that's one what Scott Natal went up as well, or went through, when he was going further north. Yeah, interesting. So, interesting, yeah. Okay. Anything in the sky, anything odd, strange in particular? Doesn't seem to be the case. Just another brief little backstory, right? when the Iwu crew explore with us, when they went out there, okay, the family, they were in I can't remember the exact area now. I don't know how far they were from Jeremy Canyon, but basically they were in the desert. It was getting to night time, getting dark, and they were just stood there waiting for some person to come along, whether it be an expert, person to tell stories, who knows about the area or other events. And as they were talking, in the distance, you got a military base. I'm not quite sure which one it is exactly. I mean, you got 3 different ones. You got Area 51, you got Nellis Air Force Base, and then you got another one too, which I can't remember the name on the spot, but there's at least 3, so like a triangular, okay? And it's when we were talking, and Emma from Iwu Crew said, we've not seen any UFOs yet. And then right after she says that, and it's not even edited, some like bright orb flies over the sky from the military base side coming towards them in the sky and then just disappears. It's so weird, and the timing, the coincidence, so weird. The motion and movement of it does appear to be of a UFO, some kind of unknown flying object, right? Could be alien, you never know. If you want to check that video out, it will be available in the playlist. I think it's called Paranormal Caught, not Paranormal, UFO Caught on Camera with Kenny Veach case, okay? Zoom out there. Is there any others? Huh? Right, so we looked at that one. We've got a couple here which is interesting. Let's take a look at this one. Although we're looking at the outer skirts, I just wanted to see how far people have got, right? Because if you think about it, the roughest part's literally Joe May Canyon, right? Where no one goes. People might get to a certain spot and then leave it, turn back. You know what I'm saying? What's this one? Vehicle travel permitted only on designated roads. You see how rocky and bumpy the terrain is. Arguably much more brutal than the Dylan Rounds case, or even like the Montello, Nevada area, right? As for people solely from the Kenny Veach community, maybe from day one or recent, are any of you who have followed the Kenny Veach case, Nevada, are any of you aware of Montello, Nevada, like a small town? Let me know. What does that say? Travel at your own risk. You know, you could get a flat tire, puncture, could get very messy. Just want to see if like there's anything dodgy, anything odd that stands out. It's still by this guy called BMP. Okay. It might give you a bit of a headache at times because, unfortunately, when you do back in and out of these places, the bloody camera angle rotates you the wrong way. Let's take a look at what this one is. This is near to the Corn Creek Visitor Centre. This is by Emily Osgood. Okay, some female. And speaking of females in the area, right? I can't remember exactly where, whether it be DJ Moore parked his vehicle near the visitor centre or further up. He parked it somewhere at least, then go on his hike back then. And he did say that there was a woman that parked behind him and he came running back down, shortening his hike expedition because he wondered if the person was going to hijack his vehicle or break into it. Confronted her. She was wearing a big floppy hat, so she was kind of concealing her identity. I think she was wearing sunglasses as well, and she said she was collecting wild flowers. Kind of odd that you'd cover that distance, go out of your way to go all the way down here where it's very quiet, right, just get some flowers. So that was a bit suspicious. Jeff Clark thinks it's a bit odd. DJ Moore kind of brushed it off. So I don't know if he's changed his mind since or if he still thinks the same way. I do also know that DJ Moore has, from the looks of it, in terms of comments, messages, have sided with other channels or something. He's acted as a bit of a hypocrite at times, but we've already analysed that, okay? But as for this area, what do we have? We've got a person over there with a dog. I don't know who that is. That's not Sean, is it? Oh God, that'll be a bit weird. No, it won't be. It won't be. I'm just thinking that dog kind of looks similar. What's all this, though? What's all these, like, little rocks? Weird. I mean, the area itself, there'll be, either some historical backstory significance behind this area, right? I just wanted to share it with you just in case you haven't seen it before, okay? You see the surrounding areas, see all the mountains, you're just surrounded by them. It's quite extreme. And all those black rocks there, which is kind of odd. I don't know if they've been scattered there, dumped there. Looks like it. But I don't know who by. Visitors, ancient times, maybe. But yeah, I just wanted to share that one with you. Make sure we're facing north and continue onwards, right? I think sometimes if you zoom in a bit too much, you end up revealing even more markers. Right, okay. So Jome Road's there. And down here you got Gas Peak Road camping area. So that's bound to get more visitors because it seems more focused on that aim. Just hover around the outer skirts just to see if there's anything. Doesn't seem to be much here. I mean, you got the bombing range as well, so I'm aware of that. Wait. Area 51. Is that Area 51? Wait, why are there images of Area 51? Oh, no. Gotta make sure, because I don't get confused. Yeah, it's Area 51, right? Well, we'll take a look at those images next time, okay? We will. Who knows what it reveals? You know, what you got to take in mind? Sometimes there's been like markers which people have created. Could be in Africa, could be in New Guinea, okay? And when people clicked on it, it's suddenly taken someone to like a dark room with blood all over the wall, handprints, and then you rotate the camera around and there's a big person stood in the shadows holding a machete. It's like a horror thing, and it's just been, you know, randomly created by a random person or group of people messing around like a prank. It's been documented on TikTok, the degenerative platform, and obviously when you've watched those videos and you've checked it out yourself to look at those little markers, normally tends to be the 360-degree ones with the blue dots on. You click on it, it says loading, and then it says failed to load, and then it's like, oh, that was a waste of time. So most likely it was a prank, and then Google got rid of it, deleted it, right? Just wanted to explain that to you. What about down here? Although up this way, it's significantly further away, right, from what we should be looking at. Can we check the distance at the same time? We can't. But basically, over this way, the discussion was, what about the 45-mile hike? Kenny could have gone 45 miles north for whatever reason and then succumbed to the environment or got picked up, whatever. Okay? So there's markers there as well within that appropriate range. Then we can take a look. But because I haven't mapped it out or created the grids for it, I should be able to find them then. Yeah. Then what we'll do is see if they fit within the area and take a look at them. But let's focus more down here, right? We've got Sheep Peak. Do any of the names pop up? Sheep Peak. Okay, so we've got some photos here, which is good. Get off. So some of the photos what you see might be of on top of the peak or on lower ground, okay? And obviously this is off lower ground. Well, it looks like it, but then again, when you look down there, it seems to drop down. Who's it by, though? Jeremiah Williams, 2019. So the same year Sean went. Evgeny Shmilev, 2012. Okay, so before Kenny went missing, arguably within the area. So if any of these photos or locations remind you of anything, you've seen them before, feel free to leave it down below in the chat. Jeremiah, once again, looking up that way. Okay. Okay, so he's on lower ground on the roads. See the overhead power line just there, down a gravelled path, and in the distance. Okay. We got Jonesy Boy Games 2021. You know, were they just passing by the area? Were they interested in looking for Kenny Veach, M Cave? Just makes you wonder, you know. They might reach out and explain. Looks like snow over down the mountains from the looks of it. Jeremiah again, lots of photos by him. And one by Anna C, 2020. Some stuff back there. Most part of it, it's just people taking photos of into the distance, right? So we haven't come across any serious hikers yet from the looks of it. Just close that down. What about Hayford Peak? How about that? Ryan Ibarra, 2020. Okay. So this is kind of like the area, roughly speaking, where SB went, Vegas Adventures. Who's that guy? Eric Culberson, 2020. Kind of a coincidence, considering we're talking about a person called Eric the Hiker early on. I don't know if this Eric Culberson is the one that tried looking for Kenny in the past. But yeah, you see what's on ground there, just like stones, rocks, the odd log, and then behind some more stuff. And then you see in the distance as it drops down the valley. You get some good views, of course, yeah. Nothing odd, you know, sticking out at the moment. Let's just carry on. What's this about? You got some satellite there. Solar panel. Old axe stuck in a stump at the summit. Would love to know who put it in there and how long it's been there for. Well, it does look quite old. The handle itself wooden, but very thin. Probably broke, snapped with time. The head of it, though, does look quite big, chunky. And the back of it has the spike. Is that like a fireman's axe or something? It looks like a fireman's axe. It's stuck in the wood, so, you know, arguably been there for some time. If any of you know, feel free to share your thoughts down below in the chat if you want. That's interesting. What we've got there, US coast and geo something. For information. What's that? Geodictics Survey reference mark. Okay, whatever that is, not quite sure. Got some like parking area. What's this from? 2016 by Tom Gaffright. Okay. 2016, so like the time when Sean went out there looking for Kenny. Interesting. I'm just basing it off the year, just the year 2016. A Chevrolet or a Jeep? Is that a Ram maybe? I'm not sure what direction they're looking in, but well, actually, I assume that must be the little parking space where Scott Natal parked, and then turn the other way around. Like maybe Hidden Forest Trail. There you go. You see a lighter going. I think that's the cabin, right? Hidden Forest Trail. That's by Exploring Mundos 2018, 2016. Okay, interesting. There's the Hidden Forest cabin, in case you wondered what it looked like. That's on the way to it, further back down. I guess that's going off the trail, maybe. From this rock, one is halfway to the cabin. Okay, so they actually gave an explanation. That's quite helpful and useful. That rock, maybe, yeah. Okay. Another tower, satellite. You see some of this. You see it maybe a fair bit when you look at these peaks high up on the mountains. I think there's one at Tickaboo Peak as well. Same person. More of the wash, portion of the hike. Okay, someone up there. There's a person in the distance. Summit view looking south. I guess this is Hayford Peak at the top. The snow. A lot of it. Portion of the hike. Yeah, you see, you get surrounded by the mountains, you know, and maybe that might happen with Governor's Spring in Lucin, Utah, when the likes of Lance goes up there. There's more so with the Mojave Desert, though, as you see here, because especially when you go up those like narrow canyons, you kind of look all around, you look at the rock walls by the side, and you look at the distance ahead, especially if it's like a dead end, and you're just towered by these like big structures, rocks, natural, overlooking you. So it can be a bit intimidating. You know what I'm saying? Okay, who's this guy? This is God. He's jumped quite high up. Damn. 2018. Assume that's Hayford Peak. Does he have tattoos on his arm? Oh no, it's just his sleeves. Okay. Here's this by Eric again, 2020. I mean, if there's anyone that have taken these photos and are watching this video right now or later, feel free to drop a comment and say hi, whatever. Or if any of you in the chat that just so happen for some reason know of these people or know of someone, feel free to say so. Hiking up the ridge, okay. Ryan Abana, 2020. And there we go, looking down the ridge portion of the hike. So not too much of interest, but just checking out who's, taking the photos. Hidden Forest Ridge, just a bit before that, by Mike R05, 2020. Dotson Media, 2020. 2020 seems to be a popular year from the looks of it. And bear in mind, you can pause these photos yourself in the video if you want to visualize them, if anything stands out, anything unusual, strange. Okay, there we go. And as well, feel free to drop a timestamp as well down below in this video if you do notice anything, and we can check back and refer to it, okay? Have we done Sheep Peak? Yeah, we did do Sheep Peak. Yep. Okay. So we've done like the key names and the key markers. Over here it gets a bit too far out. You get me? Okay. So this is the thing, right? This is actually, if I'm correct in saying, the logbook if you used to go to the Kenny Beach hike. So if you're going up to the DNWR centre to begin with. So some of these markers end up being put in the wrong spot, right? And that seems to be the case here because of that logbook. This is the one Sean signed when he parked up. This is the one Jay Silverheels referred to about burning it down to the ground. Yeah. Daniel Parada. Okay, a flyby flying over the area. That's interesting, that. I know they've done that within the Dylan Rounds case, right? And yeah, Kerry Collin, 2021. Kind of amateur though, still. Feels amateur. Don't know if you agree. why does it do that? I hate it when it all goes blue. Let's get rid of it. Okay. Feel free to share thoughts down below in the chat. There we go. Okay, so it doesn't look like we can get rid of it, but never mind. What's the closest one near to Jerme Canyon? I mean, you got that one down there. Let's try this one down here. Let's see what this looks like. Dead Man Canyon, okay. Oh, it's by Eric, the one that took those other photos. What's that guy doing? Is that guy having a wee? What are you doing, man? God, no privacy, is there? Even when you're in the middle of a desert and there's literally no one else around. Still caught on camera. And there's the vehicle. Vegetation, although it's not quite fit, it's very plastered all over the place, kind of dense in a way. Huh. Okay. Not much there. That'd be 2020, I believe. Hayford Peak. And if we just randomly tap on one of those dots, because there's so many of them, I assume it'll be all by the same person. Oh my god. What is this weird angling? Okay. So basically, what we're seeing here, we're going away from it. Don't know where that bike ended up. But all those like markers that go all the way up here, it'll be by the same person, okay? Peekaboo Canyon. Yeah, it's by the same exact person. Weird camera. Bit of motion sickness, right? Okay. So we don't need to look at all of them. Just wanted to confirm that with you, right? So for most part of it, there's not really any markers, any little blips, anything like that within the actual critical area of round here, round there, and round here. Just nothing at all. So it clearly shows that it's not really a popular area, despite what humans say with time, okay? You fast forward into the future, 20 years on, you could then say, yeah, a lot of people have gone there. And it's like, well, yeah, over a long space of time, you know. And for the most part of it, it'll be people looking for Kenny, looking for the cave, most likely, because there's no other real reasons to go up there. You know what I'm saying? There's other hikes you can do, and probably better ones, and maybe less dangerous ones. What about up here? Most likely be by that Jacob guy. Is it? The Eric guy, sorry. The cabin, yeah. Okay. These tend to be quite clear visually, these photos, so that's helpful. But yeah, for most part of it, not in the critical areas which we want, which is disappointing, but it is what it is. Though with that Area 51 stuff, we will have to take a look in a separate video for sure. Was there anything I missed? Nope. Basically, most of the markers are either on actual roads or tourist attractions, key popular places. Clearly proves that the Kenny Beach hike isn't that popular, even throughout all the years. But it's very typical as well because, like, let's say, when we look back, for example, using Google Earth Pro, where you could actually go back in time, right? And it was more practical here than the Dylan Brown's case, as you could go back in time to 1985 or something, or even before that, right? Very useful. You could go back to 2016, 17, 18, you know, and so on, 2020, 2012, 2015, whatever. With the Dylan Rounds case, you're limited, which is a bit unfortunate because it's happened more recent, right? Sometimes they don't document every month of the year for though. Sometimes they might document 2 months out of the year of the area. So it is a bit of a luck-based game. And out of all the areas we have checked, whether it be a Veitch family member, checking when and when not they were present, if they've moved, if a vehicle's there or not after the person's gone missing, just couldn't seem to quite find it in certain areas. The key critical times and moments where you want to align the correct year with the correct month and maybe the correct day, you know, of a certain area, and the data was not available, whether it be for Joe May Road, Joe May Canyon, as nearby as possible for a street view. It would only go back a certain time and it would miss out. Like you could have 2020, 2019, 2018, 2017, 16, 15, and then for some reason it's missing 2014 out. And some other areas, even in popular, more urban-based areas in Las Vegas, such as the Reiki Healing Store, where Google would get about more efficiently compared to the desert area. Yeah, it went through all the years, modern time, going back 2020, 19, 18, 17, and then at some point it just misses out a big patch, including 2018 actually, yeah, because I was trying to get the correct date, try and look at the window, was it smashed in or not, where did the exact breakthrough take place. More about that in a previous video if you want to learn about it, okay? And it was just the dates, the times weren't available, and it was so frustrating. So you went to Kenny Veitch's house where he lived at the time before going missing and checking in. What about after? Did anyone move in? Yeah, but what about in between that? Did anyone visit, sneak in, park the car up like Kenny's? No, because not all the dates were there, not all the years. So every key spot I wanted to go to, whether it's in the desert, in the city, spread out, in a populated place or in a quiet place, all the key times and all the key dates weren't available. And it's like, what a coincidence, what a coincidence. It's like it's been erased or wiped. But then again, one thing that isn't talked about enough is the fact that Kenny Veitch's last known comment before going missing, which was on YouTube, ended up disappearing, was deleted, taken away by someone. Now, why would they? The comment was on son of an Area 51 technician, worker, something like that. Kenny's comment was the most liked comment on the video at about 520 likes, and then it's just disappeared. And it was back then documented, okay? And it's like, why? If it's the person that posted the comment in the first place, okay, but then who has access to his account, and then why are they trying to remove traces of Kenny Veitch? Why would you do that? You know, if you don't want messages being sent your way or towards this deceased person, then you might shut down the account or make it private or something like that. But it was kept up, nothing was changed, but then a comment was deleted. Could it be by the YouTube channel of the video where the comment came from? Yeah, but then why would that channel want to delete that old comment from an old video of theirs? Why are they looking back? Why do they care so much? That's the other thing. And the comment didn't cause any trouble either. No threat, no going against terms of service. Yeah, if a comment was deleted within the thread, that comment would only be deleted. But because Kenny Veitch's was the original comment and then the thread consists of hundreds of comments, the whole thing was deleted, unfortunately. So, you know, weird. And then obviously with people, YouTube channels deleting videos of theirs, not being seen again, changes in behaviour, it gets kind of weird, right? There might be the odd few people that have changed because, or gone a bit quiet because they've got no choice. I guess like Sean in a way from what's supposedly happened. I understand that. Okay. And then other people like Robin, what was the point of that? Deleting all the videos after all that time spent. Bit of a waste, right? Who else is there? Final point just to make note of. Does anyone remember Mystery Hikes? I can't remember if he wore glasses or not, but he was a person that went there to explore, and he had like 2 different videos, I think. Only 2 videos on his channel. One was to do with the hike, and I think the other one was something else. 2 guys going out there, looking, didn't find anything, but at least they went out there and documented it. They received a bit of attention, like people did acknowledge them at the time. And if you type in their channel now, or at least when I tried a couple of days ago, Mystery Hikes, they don't exist. The channel's gone. Why? Why is it just gone? That's what I don't understand. The one interesting thing I did see, and it must have been a comment on one of my Kenny Veach videos, maybe kind of a recent comment, possibly. Someone replied back. I don't know what the comment was, and I can't remember the person's username, but I think they had a white or greyish profile picture of something. Someone responded back to the comment saying, "Oh, I see your Mystery Hikes," or "Oh, I see you changed your name." How would that person know? Well, I guess if they subscribed to that person in the past and witnessed name changes at the time, then you'd know, right? I mean, so many times in the Kenny Veach case, some spasmodic individuals constantly changing their username like a little rat scuttling about so they would avoid detection, avoid getting reported. Desperate, okay? Not even seen that level of desperateness within the Dylan Rounds case in terms of consistently changing names. You get what I'm saying? So you see like differences within humans and behaviour, okay? But from my memory, when I clicked on that channel, which was supposedly renamed from Mystery Hikes to something else, there was 0 videos on their channel. So unless there was a misunderstanding or it was actually an alt or new account by that channel, it's like, well, what about the original channel? What about the original videos? Like, where's it gone? You know? And you see it with these people, these videos, put Sean aside, right? They've deleted the videos, they've deleted their channel, they've changed the username, they've changed in behaviour, and it's like, did they actually find anything on their hikes? No. Did they only go like once or twice? Yes. Are they doing other things ever since? Probably. So why do you need to erase your past? Like, what the hell's going on? Even Jeff Clark, who's been out there a couple of times, he's still around. He's still commenting. He hasn't really changed too much. His videos are still there on his channel. So it's like, well, if he's okay, if Jay Chuck is okay, to an extent, if Jay Silverheels was okay, then why are the others changing or hiding things? That's what we don't understand. And what I will also say, as another observation, there's arguably a higher level of younger people participating in the Kenny Veach case compared to the Dylan Rounds case. Okay? The interesting thing is, in a way, don't matter the age, they all act the same when you put them together, right? In the Dylan Rounds case and community, it's almost like high school. People in a class misbehaving, being very naughty, okay? Squabbling about all over the place, right? With the Kenny Veach case, you got singular people, not really causing drama, but coming out with a load of BS at times. Younger people saying, "Oh, I saw the cave. Oh, I saw Kenny Veach over here. Oh, I went, and when I went with my friends, we got too close to it, and all our friends ran off, but I decided to go in so far, but then I got scared as well, and I ran away, and we've never been there since. I can share it with you. I know the location." It's like, oh, for God's sake. Heard it all before, right? So you might have more squabbling drama in the Dylan Rounds case with fully grown adults. In the Kenny Veach case, you've got younger people acting their age, which is understandable, but coming out with bullshit, which could cause confusion. But, you know, if you can detect it easily and quick, then there's no harm done, right? I think that's it for now, okay? I did try look for the photos, imagery of the key markers and places. If there was any names or dates that stood out to you, feel free to list it down below. If there was any photos, pictures that stood out, feel free to leave the timestamp if you saw anything within. And also, if not in more significance, the coordinates of that supposed M-shaped cave, if it is one. Leave your thoughts down below. Do you think it is an actual cave? Do you think it is the M cave, right? It's one of those things, and I don't know if I quite went into depth earlier on, but in terms of the description by Kenny Veach, there were contradictions made, right? I can't remember them all on the spot, but I think I did do a video dedicated to covering Kenny Veach and his exaggeration, his misinformation, misdirection, right? Saying, oh yeah, and I was hiking near Nellis Air Force Base. Nellis Air Force Base is way down that way in the city. Nellis bombing range or test range is in the desert, kind of like adjacent away from the hike route. One's a base, one's a test site, bombing site. There's a difference, right, in language. So whilst people can say, well, it won't be over there, well, how he worded it, it was. And if he's confused, or if he wasn't quite in the correct mindset, or he was full of adrenaline at the time, wasn't quite thinking, or spirituality blocked his senses, you could use that as possible reason. I know people have said with time, it looked like Kenny Veach, the hike he was doing, he was either trying to pretend like there's nothing here to see, maybe because he's been forced to act like that, or he's actually in a completely different area to where he actually was when he did come across whatever. You know, there's all kinds of possibilities, and this is the thing that, aside from the difference of one's true crime, one's a mystery, this is what separates the Kenny Veach M Cave case, separates it from any other case out there, right? Obviously the levels of resistance, the darkness, the deepness, all the ranges and possibilities of different theories, evidence to reinforce it, the paranormal side, the UFO side, possible creatures too in the mindset of other people. You know, all kinds of stuff you can look at and material, even though it's, with time, has been limited, and yet the best has been made out of it. That's what's critical, okay? But it's that fact that if you separate them aside, you got the disappearance of Kenny Veach, okay? That's the main part, right? And then the mystery of the M Cave is a 2-in-1. As for most missing people cases, it just tends to be a missing person last seen in a specific area, and they just so happen to disappear, doing their own thing, walking about, or meeting up with someone, right? With the Kenny Veach case, it's a person trying to look for a thing, a cave. And because both have not truly been found, both are a mystery, and that's what makes it extra deep compared to everything else out and about. So welcome if you are new to this case. As I said, playlist down below. And also welcome back if you've returned back. If you have any suggestions or bits of information, or you want an opinion given on something you have found, let's say within the Kenny Veach case, feel free to leave a comment down below. I hope this video was of some use, of some interest to most people, hopefully. And yeah, thank you for watching. Feel free to leave any more comments down below if you have questions or grievances. And yeah, that's it for now. Thanks for watching. Good night and goodbye for now.